Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest is the hilarious stand-up comedian, Chris Distefano. His new special is called Size 38 Waist. It's amazing. It's hilarious. You can see it now on Comedy Central. Let's take a look before we bring him out.
If I took my shirt off right now, I look like the melting candle from Beauty and the Beast. I feel like a Midwestern stepmom, you know? I go to the Gap. I'm like, do you have 38, 32? They're like, no, we don't, Diane, okay? The other day I saw a guy, he was like legit 45 years old going to work on a scooter. Suit, helmet, scooter. Grown man, like this, smiling, just gliding down the street. I was like, do you think your wife's not cheating on you? I had ADHD, but I had ADHD in 1990, okay, when nobody had that shit, all right? There were no support groups. I was just a weird kid that bit people. So I was just, you know? Beautiful, my baby, 2 years old. Half Puerto Rican, half Italian. I named her West Side Story. She's a toddler, but she's a woman. She's just a miniature baby woman. I'll come home, she'll be like, look who decided to show up. Whose crayon is this? It's not my crayon, so like, do you have another family, or?
Everyone, please welcome Chris Distefano.
Thank you. It was great. Thank you. Thank you guys for not laughing at the trailer. I appreciate it. It's
It
just
happens.
good.
It's like,
It's just what it is.
yeah.
I don't care anymore.
You do not care anymore.
I care, but it's just, you know, you get so used to just failing in comedy that I just, you know, it's like, yeah, people aren't gonna, what are you gonna do?
You
know?
are currently doing press, though, for an hour-long special
Yes.
that is airing on cable, on good cable, not
yeah.
even on good cable, and it's on the internet. So you're not really failing.
No.
Congratulations.
Oh no, yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, it's great, but you know, I'm just saying, like when people don't laugh, it's just like, yeah, I get it. You know, I've seen this shit so many. I'm like, ugh, just get me off.
It's true. When you walked on stage, I heard a very distinct ugh to your own work.
This guy looks dead. It's unreal. Yeah, he doesn't care. What are you gonna do? You know?
The cave dwellers, right?
Cave dwellers. Yeah. Oh my God. I know. I haven't been in this place. I was telling you, I used to do this show, MLB's Off the Bat. It was on MTV2 at 11 a.m. on Sundays.
Why was it called Off the Bat?
Because it was like, yeah, Off the Bat. And then, so I haven't been in here since then. But I like what you guys have done with the place.
Thank you.
No problem.
And when you did that show Off the Bat, it was a baseball show, and you were doing it for like baseball fans.
It was basically, Major League Baseball wanted to get younger. So they were like, let's have comedian from MTV2, Fat Joe, and Sway make it younger. And then they put it on Sundays at 11 a.m. on MTV2.
Were you a baseball fan?
Yeah, I love baseball. Yeah, absolutely. I had a full boner every time. I mean, I loved every time a player walked in here. I was like, I just wanted.
Who was your favorite player?
Who was the coolest?
Yeah, that you met.
Ricky Henderson.
Because he speaks in the third person.
Yeah,
all the
he
time, right?
spoke in the third person, and we were like at the batting cages once. We were filming something, and he was like, Ricky Henderson would keep his weight on the back leg. He was like, Ricky Henderson wouldn't swing and miss at a 30-mile-per-hour pitch, boy. That's what he said to me. Exact quote. I was like, all right, Ricky.
So, Size 38 Waist, I love this special. It's so great. How long have you been working on this material?
Ugh. I've been working on this material. This is
general vibe. You're just rolling on a general vibe of self-loathing and disgust.
Here's 10 years. I started comedy in 2009. So I guess I did a half-hour special for Comedy Central in 2013. So I guess from 2014. So I guess from 2014 to now, this is about 4 years worth of material. And now I'm going to do a second-hour special for Comedy Central at the end of this year, which will be, a year or two worth of material. So get ready to see that horse shit.
You started in 2009. How old were you when you started?
How old was I in 2009? Well, I was born in 1984.
Oh, so the same, you're the same age as me.
Yeah, 25?
Yeah.
Oh, you're 34 years old?
Yeah, March 4th, 1984.
You got that sexy gray going.
That's right.
Absolutely, dude. It's nice, salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper?
It's nice, dude. I'm telling you, man, salt and pepper's the shit.
Yeah. You're not there yet.
No. I'm not. Yeah, I'm weird. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't have any gray hair. My dad has no gray hair either. He's like 74, 75 years old. So, I don't know.
What made you start doing comedy?
What made me start doing comedy? Well,
Who hurt you?
Yeah, I know. My dad. Well, I used to be a physical therapist. And then, I don't know. In 2009, I was like, I want to do stand-up. I want to just try it. I was wanting to be that person that was like, I don't want to live with any regrets. So I was like, yeah, I'll try this. And then it just stuck. And then I started doing it. And then in 2000...
Was your first appearance, the first time you went on stage, did it go well?
No, it did not go well the first time I went on stage.
Because I had that feeling too. If I don't want to live with any regrets, I'm going to try stand-up. And then I tried it, and I was like, I regret trying that. Yeah.
Well, I think everybody's scared of bombing, but it's like that's the only way you're ever going to learn is by failing. And now I'm at a point where it's like, number one, I don't learn anything from when I'm bombing. And number two, it's like bombing starts to become fun in the sense where it's like it's going so poorly. You know, as long as you don't make the audience feel uncomfortable, it's like, yeah, this joke, a joke misses, and I'm laughing because I'm like, I can't believe that I even thought that would be funny.
But there's that first time you do it, which is, granted, is my only time, that I'm wondering if you had, where you kind of can't even really feel out the space and don't even really know what's happening. It's just sort of like riding a blackout until someone pulls you off the stage.
Yeah, I remember the first time I ever did it. If I could just get anybody to smile, I felt like I achieved something, and somebody smiled about 4.5 minutes into my set. I think they smiled or they were holding in a sneeze. I don't know, but I saw facial movement, so I was like, okay, and then I got off.
Or they're like, oh man, this sad guy's looking at me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty brutal, but I think then that happened, it was like painful, it was painfully bad, but then I got up and I did it again like an hour later. I found another open mic to go to in the city, New York City, and then I did it again. So. Did
you have written jokes? Before you went up, did you write a bunch of jokes? Or
it was all hacky crap. It was like all things that just horrifyingly hacky. Now, like altar boy, priest jokes, and I was Catholic, so it was like, this will be original. Some altar boy, priest molestation joke. It was like, this is the worst. And it was awkward and horrifying. And I was proud of it, and I showed my mom, and she was like hitting me with holy water.
Did it like over Thanksgiving dinner? Like, check out my material.
Yeah, it was just brutal.
Yeah.
So, but now, now it's like, now it's my whole life now. It's become my whole life. So it's cool. And I still have my physical therapy license, but, I keep that for like my own insurance policy in my head. But
when's the last time you did physical therapy for anybody?
2013. I did it in 2000. I was a pediatric physical therapist. I worked in a school with like mentally and physically handicapped kids.
Wow.
So yeah, 2013. Because when Guy Code and Girl Code on MTV, they became very popular shows for college-age kids and high school kids. So a lot of the parents of the children I was working with were young enough where they saw me on the show because the show was popular, and they were like, hey, they didn't have a problem with it, but they're like, oh, I saw you on MTV last night. And then once the principal found out, she was like, look, you can't be talking about things on Guy Code and Girl Code and then be in a school. Like,
you weren't talking about things from the school on Guy Code?
No, but it was like, she's like, you can't moonlight as a comedian. Like, this is, she watched some, it's just like, she was like, you're talking about the Guy Code to hiding your boner, or you're talking about the Guy Code or Girl Code to like having one night stands. Like, you can't do that and then be in a school. She was like, so I was like, really? And then so, I had to make a choice, but I went and I go back and visit the kids, or at least keep in touch with the other therapists who took over my caseload and check in on the kids all the time still.
What was it like when you made that decision to jump from when you left that job and decided to just do stand-up full time?
I mean, in the beginning, it was rough. I had like $200 in my bank account. And it was really my dad. My dad was like, hey, look, you want to do this. You can live with me, live in my basement. We won't tell your mother. Like, you could just tell her that you're going to work as a therapist, but you quit. He was like, just, you can live with me, whatever. I'll take care of you. And then that was for like 3 weeks. I was basically living off $200, and then I had already been working so much for Guy Code and Girl Code that MTV gave me like an overall contract and like, paid me well, and I haven't like looked back since. So yeah, it was kind of like a risky choice in the beginning, and my mother was against it. I mean, she was furious. She was like, "You have a doctorate degree, you're a therapist, and now you're leaving all this to go do comedy? Like, it's stupid." It was all I faced was rejection in the beginning, besides my dad. And my family like turned their back on me. But then I did David Letterman's show in like 2013, and my mom met John Travolta. So it was like, fine. She was like, yeah, she was just telling everyone she met John Travolta. I was like, well, I also, your son did comedy on the show. It's like, yeah, but I met John Travolta.
What was how was John Travolta?
He was when I met him in 2013, first of all, he was on giving his interview, obviously done David Letterman 30 times by then, John Travolta. I had never been on even TV before, or I'd never done my stand-up on TV before. So I was going on next, and it was like a commercial break. He comes out, and he like stopped, and he didn't even say anything. Like, he knew that I knew he was John Travolta, and he just put his hand on my chest. I swear to God. And he was like, I can feel your heart beating. And I was like, yeah, I know, it's my heart. I was like, that's where it is, it's in my chest. And then he was like, you're nervous? I was like, yes. He was like, why? And I was like, well, I'm doing comedy for the first time, and you have your hand on my chest. And he was like, okay. He's like, but you've already done David Letterman before. You know that, right? And I was like, no, I haven't. I'm going to do it now. And he was like, no, but it's done. You have to understand it's done. So there's nothing to be nervous about. And I was like, what? And he was
past life with Perzinu.
Well, he was like, because you've already practiced this material. He said, I'm sure you've had to go through some type of audition process that was very strenuous, and I'm sure it's a small number of comedians get picked to do this. You're in that group. He said, so really the work is done. You've already proven yourself. Now you just have to go live it. So it's easy. It's autopilot. It's easy. And I was like, wow. And he was like, it's true. And it started to calm me down. And then he was like, I'm going to watch. He's like, I want to share this moment with you. He said, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to watch every minute of you doing that comedy. He said, when you come off, I'm going to be right here. He said, because I want to share this moment with you. And I was with my ex-girlfriend my girlfriend at the time, ex-girlfriend now. And then when I did this show, it was great. And then I came back and he was gone. And I was like, what happened? And she was like, he left immediately. As soon as you took the mic out of the stand, he just left. And I was just like, great.
Awesome.
But I was, because I was like, you know what?
It's almost better that he did that.
100%. Like, I don't feel bad. Like, I was like, yeah, I appreciate that, because like, he just wanted to pump me up, and I get it. It's like, I get it. I get the bullshit of life. Like, I'm not like, oh, that offended me. Shut up. It's like, I got it. You wanted to pump me up. It was all bullshit from the beginning. You did your job. Now I'll fucking go fuck myself.
It's also, that's a great joke.
It's great.
That's a great bit on his part. Like,
yeah.
Even if it was like, even if he didn't think it was funny, if someone did that to me and then I went up and did really well and came back and they weren't there, I would laugh hysterically.
Dude, it was classic. It was classic Johnny T.
I had to ask that. Travolta and like Tom Cruise are these two celebrities that I just
Yeah.
like. They're like, no one really has ever been as big as them.
Yeah.
And so therefore their personalities are just completely ginormous and insane. And then whenever someone's like, I met them, I'm like, well, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was like it was like only a minute or two, but it's like the most memorable minute or two I've had in my life. I mean, it was like Travolta was legit massaging my nipple. So it was awesome.
That's probably why, like, you left and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
out of here.
He left immediately. I was like, immediately? She was like, as soon as you said hello, he left. As soon as you said hello to the crowd, I was like, great. And I'm sure if I met him, he would never even remember. And I wouldn't care. I'd be like, yeah, dude, it's fine.
Yeah. So with Size 38 Waist, one of the things that you mentioned living with your dad, and one of the things that you talk a lot about is your dad. And I was sort of talking to you in the green room that I think sensitive, like men who are somewhat a little more sensitive than their fathers are obsessed with their fathers because they just, it's hard to understand where this person came from and why they are still reacting to the world in the way that they're reacting, because we are sensitive because there is a part of them that is very sensitive.
Sure. Yeah, like my dad, he's like not PC at all. Like he's 75 years old from Brooklyn. Like he'd be a nightmare, like on a show. Like he just doesn't know what to say or do. But the bottom line is like his heart is gold. Like I remember when Hurricane Sandy happened on, like ravaged Staten Island, and my dad lives on Staten Island, and on the coastline, my dad lives a little bit inland, so his house wasn't damaged at all. But on the coastline, a lot of people's houses got their whole lives destroyed. So I remember there was a whole family, two families of Mexican people who had both of them had six people in each family, and my dad for a week allowed each family to stay in his house separately, so they had somewhere to go, took the kids to school, bought them food, whatever. But, simultaneously while he's doing that is making Mexican jokes that are not, But the family, you talk to the family, like if you just heard my dad say that, you'd be like, oh my God, this piece of shit, But to the Mexican families he took in, they were like, your dad is our saint. When he still keeps in contact with him, he's like, yeah, it's all family. So it's like he's got very sensitive, but he expresses himself in this weird, stupid way.
My parents have Russian neighbors,
Yeah.
and he refers to the head of the household over there as Ivan.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, what is his actual name? He goes, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just call him Ivan, but he snow blows their driveway. He mows their lawn.
Yeah.
He brings them food and hangs out with them all the time, but he refuses to know the guy's name. He just wants to call him this ethnically insensitive
Yeah,
name.
of course. Yeah, my dad the whole time. The father of the family's name was Jose. My dad called him Juan the whole time. And I said, it's Jose, Dad. And he was like, Juan. So it's like, what are you is that wrong? Of course it's wrong, but he's also feeding and clothing his whole family. So it's
it's hard not to be obsessed with these men of a certain time who are just sort of a walking series of contradictions.
Sure. Yeah, I get it. I mean, listen, I get it all. I'm telling you, I've said it in my special too. I've been punched in the face so many times in my life and beat up that it's just like, I get it, man. I'm in the gray zone. I get sometimes people say offensive stuff. I forgive people. It's like, who cares? Let's just get through life. Let's just do it. Let's hold hands and get through it.
Are you of the opinion that we're all too sensitive, or do you think we're not sensitive, that we're not sensitive enough, that we're not broadly sensitive and open-minded?
I think that I feel like sensitivity. It's listen, it's fine. I get it. I get that the world. I have a daughter. I have a 3-year-old little girl. So I'm like, I want her to grow up in a way better world than I grew up in for sure. So I'm all about every progressive idea. But I think. People, I feel like now we're in a little bit of a revenge society where it's like people they're waiting to get mad at you they're waiting for you to do something wrong. So it's like, I just choose to not be that way. I'm like, listen, if somebody does something wrong, I can forgive them. I mean, I can forgive anybody. I'm just like, yeah, I get it. I mean, people fuck up.
When's the last time you were punched in the face?
Last time I got punched in the face? Good question. What's today? I got hit like 4 or 5 years, no, maybe 6 years ago. I got hit I didn't get hit. I was doing a show for in the beginning I started out doing my last name is Distefano, so it's like a very Italian, obviously, last name. And I did doing the show at this Italian restaurant, and I said something and I offended this guy's wife, but I didn't really, he was just being, I forgot what even joke. I would never offend someone on purpose. It was a joke that missed, and he got offended because I said blowjob or something, and he was like, "Don't say that in front of my wife." So I was like, "All right, relax." And then he put a knife to my throat. That's how quickly it escalated.
Like an actual knife, or like a butter knife from the table?
No, a legit real knife. What my dad asked the same question. I was like, "Why does it matter? It's a fucking knife to my throat." My dad was the same thing. He was like, what kind of knife was it? Does that matter? I was like, he could have cut my jugular out. He told me he was going to cut my Adam's apple out and feed it to my mother. Exact quote. So I was like, that's the kind of knife that can do that. And
did you defuse it?
No, I didn't say anything. I was scared. I was like, I was scared. And then the owner of the restaurant was like, told the guy who had a knife to my throat. I'm not even trying to be funny. I think both their names were Carmine. I think the guy who had the knife to my throat's name was Carmine, and the owner was Carmine. So I think Carmine 1 told Carmine 2, for him to get out of there, Carmine 2 to leave, because Carmine 1 was the owner, and Carmine 1 was a real mafia guy, where Carmine 2 was a wannabe. And my father always told me about the wannabes. He's like, the real mafia guys are like, you don't have to worry about them, because they will never hurt you unless you've hurt them, and you'll never see it coming. You'll just be hurt. Where the wannabe mafia guys, those are the guys that have to prove a point. And I think Carmine 2 was trying to prove a point, but Carmine 1 out mafia'd him, so I got to go home. Yeah. So
I was curious if it was a butter knife, because there's something uniquely hilarious about someone getting so mad they immediately hold a butter knife up to somebody's neck.
And that would suck, just like a dull knife cutting my Adam's apple out. Like I'm just an idiot. I can't do anything.
And you also still have to be scared of a butter knife, even though it looks so impotent.
Absolutely, dude. You can beat you up with anything. My dad used to hit me with his shoes. Yeah, he just tie his shoes together and just hit me like fucking nunchucks. What an asshole.
What does your dad think of the material about him?
He loves it. My dad supports anything that I do. Like, he's that dad. He's just supportive from day one. So he, even when I talk about him and make fun of him, he's like, he doesn't care. He's like, whatever, Chris. He's like, whatever you got to do, make money, whatever you need to do. He's like, maybe send some girls the old man's way. I'm like, that's what young women want. 75-year-old guy on dialysis in his fucking underwear, just tall with a cheese doodle in his belly button. This is, that's what's signing up for that.
That's just the sense of humor that is just sort of
That's
like.
just who he is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, he's been married to my stepmom for 30 years, so it's like that's just the way they are. So he's just support. He doesn't care. He tries to, anything I do, he's there. He tries to be I don't think he's ever missed anything significant in my life ever. And he's a great example because, like now I'm someone's dad. So, and I feel like I'll do things a little differently than him, but like the message, my dad was always all about like, hey, I love you. I'm always here for you. So like that's, what I make sure I show my daughter every day.
We had Ron Funches here the other day, and he's the
best.
He's a father as well.
Yes.
And I think it's a rarity that you talk to people who are fathers and comedians, but are not necessarily, making millions and millions of dollars at that point. What's it like to be a stand-up comedian with a 3-year-old daughter? Do you feel like there is a different kind of intensity that you have?
No, I feel like I'm, for me it's very, and my peers who think differently than me, that's fine. I don't judge anybody, but it's like, for me it's like I'm a father first, comedian second. Like if it was like, if it was going to be something that could like make my career, but I was not going to be able to see my daughter for 6 months and miss significant things in her life, then I just wouldn't do it. It's like so simple. I'd be like, yeah, well, there's nothing I'm going to sacrifice, if it means it's going to hurt my kid or I'm going to miss something huge in my kid's life. I'm a dad first. I'm somebody's father. So it's like, I would just go back to being a physical therapist and just robbing drugstores like my dad did. No, I'm kidding. I would just go back to being a physical therapist. Like, it's very simple. I love what I do, but I do it, if I have something big that I'm doing or if I'm going to be away for a while, like I'll make my daughter, there has to be some way I can go back in a couple of days and see my kid or bring her out, or else it's just not going to happen for me. And sometimes my agent's like, why are you turning this down? I'm like, I just want to fucking hang out with my kid in the park. Yeah. He's like, what? I'm like,
Have
yeah,
you turned
dude.
down like a big tour or something? Because you'd be away?
I turned down like this pilot that I got because I had to be in, where did I have to go? LA for like 6 weeks. But they were like, that they wouldn't pay for me to come back and see my kid. I was like, well, I'm just not going to do it. And I was like, the chances of your pilot going it's so low anyway. Like, no, this is going to be the next show. Didn't make it. Knew it. Crashed. That's just who I am. I'm Chrissy Pilot's Chrissy one season. Either I get the pilot and it doesn't go, or I get on and then we're canceled after a season. So it's just who I am. So say goodbye to your show.
That's also everybody until they get a show that goes further than those two things.
But it's really been interesting.
And there are people who are just like, Chrissy, no pilot, no first season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know, dude. Chrissy drives the bus.
Yeah, there are people who are like, you should be happy you're Chrissy Pilot.
Oh, no, dude. I'm happy to be Chrissy Pilot's Chrissy one seasons. Chrissy Bitch Hips. Whatever you want, Chrissy Puffy Nipples, whatever you want. That's who I want to name a special Chrissy Bitch Hips, but they were like, can't say bitch. So size 38 waist is what the waist size. And then our next special is going to be size 40 or size 36. It depends if I can stick to keto.
We have a question coming in from Twitter. This is from @TheTeacherChris. The question is, how do you build...
this kid?
Do you know this kid?
Oh, yeah, Chris the teacher. This guy tweets me every day.
How do you build a TV remote that can be stored in your sweatpants and double as your PC?
Oh my God, this kid.
Is this a joke? Is this a joke?
Well, no, this is a joke that.
Or of his?
Yeah. He says that he sticks a TV remote in his pants and passes it as his penis pic. That's what he said on my podcast once. So this is a stupid question. Shut up, Chris the teacher. You're a creep. I don't know where you are. Can he listen right now, or is he just tweeting it?
I think he's watching, and it's live.
God, how does he watch? I don't understand how he's a teacher and he can always tweet me and watch this stuff. Shouldn't you be in class and not tweeting things about your piece?
Is he actually a teacher, or is he just like Chris the teacher?
That's a good call. He might be Chrissy Teachers, but he was fired years ago for shit like this.
Still Chris the teacher. No job, but still Chris the teacher.
Still Chris the teacher. Yeah, technically you're always a teacher, whether you have a job or not. That's hilarious, Chris the teacher.
I think we have some questions from our audience as well.
That's good.
Right here.
Hi.
I was wondering if you have a preference performing live or performing for TV, or the pros and cons to either or.
Definitely performing live. I feel like, especially with comedy, I mean, like when you're live in the room, it's a totally different thing than when it's on TV. Usually, first of all, on TV nowadays, especially like you do some show and it's like comedy has to be censored and you can't really say what you want to say unless it's on like Comedy Central on Netflix. You can do whatever, but other places you just can't. So I think being live, doing comedy live is the best. It's like because you become like I'm the kind of comic, at least I have material for sure, but I like to be in the moment. Like if something happens, I like to talk to the crowd. I like to get to know everybody, and it becomes like I want it to try to be like a good experience for everybody. So it's always live. Yeah, you have to go to comedy clubs live. You see it live. It's so much better live than on TV.
Do you have a favorite club to perform at?
My favorite club is in New York is the Comedy Cellar, for sure. In the West Village, it's the best club.
Why is that?
Well, number one, the setup is great. It's a smaller room. It's got low ceilings, so like that's perfect. You need to have low ceilings. And it's the Comedy Cellar is like any comedian you've ever heard of has come from the Comedy Cellar. Chappelle, Amy Schumer, Chris Rock, they all started at the Comedy Cellar. So it's like cool to like be a part of that kind of, class of people that get to perform at the Comedy Cellar. And then also they come back. They're always coming back and like they'll drop in unannounced. That's like the glamour and allure of the Comedy Cellar is like it's $10 tickets, but like, like one night, there's a picture of it. It made like the New York Times. It was like Amy Schumer, Jerry Seinfeld, Chappelle, Aziz Ansari, and Chris Rock. And all those people went up, but I was the one who was supposed to go next. Do you understand? So I was going to go up, and then Seinfeld pushed me back. I was like, all right, no problem. It happens. So, I have to follow people like that all the time. Then Amy Schumer comes. Okay, push back. Then Rock, then Aziz Ansari. And it just kept going. And there's a picture of all of them, like this beautiful, and it's like, $1 billion night of comedy at the Comedy Cellar, and just me in the background just looking at the wall. It's like, I don't,
Did you ever get to go up?
Yeah, I did. I went on at the very end.
What was that like?
It went all right. I was like, listen, I know it's a letdown, but just give me a few minutes, And then it was good. It actually was good because I think the audience I know the audience, if you're following those people, they expect.
They're on your side.
They're like, listen, he has to be at least decent or else he couldn't be here.
I would also, you have to be decent, otherwise you wouldn't be there. But also, they have to sort of be on your side and know what you're up against.
It's like, do you realize the shit that I just had to go through so you guys can have the night of your life?
You'd have to be
I had to wait for 2 hours listening to the fucking wall shake because of Chris Rock's new material, and now I have to come up and talk about old shit? Come on. Give me some slack.
I think we have one more question from, hi, right here.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going? You said at the top of the interview that comedians have to become accustomed to failure.
Sure.
I do comedy as well in the city. I get it. Can you maybe speak to a time you bombed and what you learned from it?
Oh my God. I mean, yeah. I can't tell you how many times. I still bomb now, but it's just because I've been doing it, 9, 10 years. It's like I can gracefully bomb, uncomfortable bombing. I mean, the bombing that I said, in the middle of the show when I got a knife to my throat, that sticks out. That was a pretty hard bomb. One time I bombed at this laundromat. They were doing comedy at a laundromat, which is just like, what? And somebody threw their wet clothes at me. It was funny just get hit with a wet sock. It was clean, so I was like, ooh, tied. But, but that was brutal.
Was this in New York?
That was in Connecticut. I mean, I used to drive. I mean, in the beginning, it's like the things that you do are nuts. Somebody had comedy. Somebody wanted a comedian. They were adamant. They wanted a comedian at their father's funeral. That's what he wanted. So it's like I had to go up after somebody read some powerful words about him. Everyone's crying. And then they're like, welcome. And it was always Artie's wish to have a comedian. So here we got a guy, Chris Destalopolo. They, fucked up my last name. They were like, you know who he is. It's like, nobody knows. And I just ate it. But I was for Artie,
No one laughed?
Nobody laughed. The only time they laughed is I kind of got 10 minutes into the set, I got kind of a good laugh, and I gave Artie a fist bump in the casket. I went, and they liked that. They thought that was funny. His son was like, that was great. My dad would have loved that. He was laughing at heaven, if he was laughing from heaven. I was like, or hell. You don't know, Artie.
Chris, I love the special.
Thank
you so much for coming by and talking to us. This special, it's currently on ComedyCentral.com. People can watch it. People can buy it on iTunes if they want, right?
Anywhere. On iTunes, Comedy Central On Demand, the Comedy Central app, everywhere. If you DVR'd it, you could still watch it. Google Play, it's everywhere.
Everywhere you can get stuff.
Anywhere you can get stuff, you can find it, and it's there.
Everybody give a big round of applause for Chris Distefano.
Thank you.
Let's hear it.